So let us begin, whatever the number, and also anybody has any question, so you let me know. Let's address that first. Otherwise, uh, like we were discussing last time, we are now talking of investment decision, and I have already started discussing different techniques of evaluation in this. Okay. And this is what we are discussing presently. That is, what are the capital budgeting techniques? Today, I intend to take up one more technique, but let me briefly tell you what are the different techniques which are in our course. Okay, is my screen legible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Visible, plus I am asking, is it legible? Is it readable?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
good, good, right. So, see, last time we talked of one important technique for evaluating capital budgeting. Now, as I had introduced about the term capital budgeting, you are all familiar with the term budgeting. Budgeting is a process of allocating the resources available to relevant items of expenditure. But in this particular case, we are budgeting basically capital. That means we are allocating the available capital resources to investment opportunities which are before us. So when we are doing this kind of allocation of the capital resources to different investment projects, there is one and only one criteria in our mind, and that is we must invest it in the most profitable projects. So when we are doing this, we are trying to find out which is the most profitable investment project, or which are the most profitable investment projects. We are, using different techniques of evaluation. It is in this context that we are talking of techniques of evaluation, and we broadly divide these techniques into two categories: traditional, and we can also say time discounting or time adjusted. This traditional, we call it as non discounting techniques, and the other set of techniques we describe as uh, uh, time discounting or discounted cash flow technique. Sorry, I was just trying to adjust the font size so that it is visible. So my mind went towards that, uh, looking at the option available. So I was just increasing the font size so that it becomes uh, yes. I think now it should be slightly better. So we say traditional. I'm just writing the initial gist, and then we'll go on discussing this part. Traditional, or we call it as non-discounting techniques. And the second category is, so these are the two categories that we talk of: time adjusted, and it is very important that the term that I'm identifying, which is time adjusted or discounted cash flow techniques. Now, when I am talking about the traditional techniques, I am not writing it as techniques relating to cash flow. Uh, there is one other technique also which does not focus on cash flow. But otherwise, if you look at these techniques, all these techniques focus on All these techniques focus on cash flows, and this is what I mentioned in the beginning when I started discussing capital budgeting. But the all the remaining techniques, leaving that one which I intend discussing today. So we have discussed one technique in the last class which forms part of the traditional technique or non-discounting technique, which we described as payback period. The other technique which falls in this category, that is the traditional category, is accounting rate of return or average rate of return. And this is what we intend discussing today. But let me just give you a brief of all the techniques so that you know what is there in this curriculum as far as this topic is concerned. Of course, there is one more dimension which will come up after we have discussed all the techniques, and I'll mention about this dimension in today's class itself. So what are the other techniques? So we have net present value. The very term indicates that somewhere we are trying to find out the present value of the cash flows. Likewise, we have a technique which is internal rate of return. There also we look at the discounted values. Discounted values. Internal rate of return. Okay. And then there is a technique which is more like a ratio, which we call it as profitability index. So originally, if you go back few years, these were the techniques that we were discussing. And then two more techniques were added into this category of time adjusted or discounted cash flows. Of these two techniques, one is with reference to internal rate of return. So let me write it here itself, which we call it as modified internal rate of return. In the book, you will find, well, it is not written when giving a brief summary on the topic in the beginning, it is not written like this. But I am writing it because this technique is nothing but a modification of internal rate of return technique. And likewise, one more technique which we have started discussing, which is, and I would like to, rather emphasize on this part right here. So whether we whether we spend too much time on this technique or not, that itself will be clear from this discussion, which is about discounted payback period. Right. So these are the techniques which are there in your curriculum. So if you look at nowadays, we are talking of 5 techniques which are in the category of discounted cash flows, and 2 techniques which we are talking in the category of traditional cash flows. But of all these techniques, except the accounting rate of return or average rate of return technique, all other techniques are based on the concept of cash flow for investment and cash flow from operations, cash outflow and cash inflow. Cash flow for investment is your cash outflow, and cash flow from operations is your cash inflows. So we are, except this technique which we are going to discuss today, that is accounting rate of return or average rate of return, all other techniques are based on the concept of cash flow. And I had briefly described when I started discussing the technique as to how do we arrive at the cash flow. And I said that primary source of the cash flow is your financial statement. But then there is an important aspect of the financial statement when we are discussing investment decision. And that important aspect, would somebody like to point out? Yes, anybody? That this cash flow is actually a projected cash flow. This cash flow is arising out of the projected financial statement. This cash flow is from a financial statement which is about future, and therefore these are all estimates. The financial statement is an estimate. The cash flow calculated from that financial statement is also an estimate. And so we take a very important assumption that the information that we are getting from these financial statements or information about cash flow is reliable and correct. Okay. Because if it is not reliable, if it is not correct, then all the effort that we are making, what is the effort we are making? We are trying to understand different techniques of evaluation, and based on the techniques of evaluation, we are arriving at a decision of which of the investment projects are better than the others, which of the investment projects which are available to us are better than the others. So in a way, we are doing some kind of ranking of the investment opportunities which are available to us. So out of this ranking process, then we take a measure of the capital available with us. So depending upon the capital available with us, and that's what we said, capital is a scarce resource. So depending upon the capital available with us, we are deploying the in the order of preference, in the order of preference that we have assigned by ranking various investment opportunities. So wherever our resources are exhausted, we cannot go beyond that. To facilitate that understanding, we are saying, supposing we have to invest only in one project. We have n number of projects available with us, and we can invest in only one project. That means involve an outlay of investment to the extent that is available with us. So the moment we put our investment into one project, all other projects we cannot invest in. But in reality, it doesn't happen like that. In reality, well, you may have more resources, or so you may be engaging into multiple investment opportunities. If you look at, let's say, the Tata Group, or recently the group which has acquired a recent limelight over the last few years is Adani Group, or before that we had Birlas and Advani groups, right? So you will find they are not engaging into one project at a time. They are engaging into multiple projects. Why? Because these are corporate groups. These are like conglomerates which are into many different types of activities. So when you look at it from a group point of view, you will find that there are many projects they are evaluating, and there are many projects out of those many projects that you are evaluating, they are engaging into. Right? So in that sense, the decision context for such organization or such set of promoters is somewhat complex. Okay. Am I making sense? Am I getting across? Or you have any question with reference to whatever I have said so far? Okay. So in this context, so now if you look at, we have discussed one technique, payback period method, which has got an important advantage and two important limitations. So this important advantage is easy to understand. And the there were two important disadvantages of this project, of this method, payback period method. One limitation or disadvantage was that it does not take into account the cash flows after the payback period, whatever be the cash flow. So assuming you have two projects which are giving same payback period, and their cash flows after the payback period are different or are substantially different, it doesn't have a measure to differentiate between these two projects, because your common sense will tell you that if the payback period is same, you must also look at the cash flow after payback period. So the project which has got higher cash flow after payback period, you must choose that. But this technique nowhere gives you that idea. Maybe you can apply from your common sense, but the technique doesn't help you in that. And then there is a like The second important limitation is, this is the one important limitation, and the second important limitation is that, let's say you have two projects which are giving you same payback period, but of their cash flows within that payback period are distributed differently. There could be a project where the cash flows are, more of the cash flows are happening early, and there could be projects where more of the cash flows are happening later. Now this early or later, I am saying within the reference to payback period. So assuming the payback period is 4 years, so maybe in one case more of the cash flows are happening in first year, and in the other case more of the cash flows are happening in the fourth year, or there could be more variations into it. So when you say there could be more variations, you are saying, assuming there is a project where let's say maximum cash flows are happening uh, somehow in first year and nothing on second year, third year, and in case of the other case, maximum cash flows are happening rather in the third year, and then not much on the first year. So like that there could be variation, and we discussed that with the help of many examples in the previous class. So there is a technique nowadays we include in the time adjusted, which we call it as discounted payback period. I do not know how this technique has become part of the discussion, but the important aspect that I want to emphasize at this stage is that this discounted payback period method actually takes away an important advantage that payback period method had. And that advantage was easy, it being easy. And of course, it eliminates one limitation as well. So all the advantages, because there was only one advantage we used to talk of, and that advantage goes away the moment you start talking about discounted payback period. Of course, you are able to overcome a limitation, which is taking into account the timings of the cash flow during the payback period. This discounting payback period method does not take into account the cash flows after the payback period. Of course, when you start discounting your cash flows, you'll find more of the cash flows are taken into account. But still there may be some cash flows which are still not taken into account and which are actually resulting after the payback period. And so in that sense, it continues to have one limitation, and it overcomes, of the two limitation, it overcomes one limitation. But it also sacrifices the important advantage that payback period method has. So in a way, this discounted payback period method, for the purpose of comparison, you may say, is inferior to net present value method. Net present value method you will find is superior. We will discuss those. So these are different methods which we will go on, and then let me also say something little more on profitability index. So this profitability index is the only method in all these methods where if the investment outlay is different, still it provides you a mechanism to compare. The remaining methods assume as if when you are comparing different projects, we are talking of same amount of investment outlay. We are comparing the comparable. We are comparing apple with apple. We are comparing orange with orange, and we are not comparing uncomparable. But profitability index being a ratio is a method which also gives you a mechanism to compare dissimilar projects, compare projects where investment outlay is different, because it expresses the result, it expresses your calculation in terms of a ratio. And so there is a way to do it. So with this brief introduction, let me, if you don't have any question to ask, let me now talk of the second method, which falls part of the traditional techniques of evaluating investment projects. So this is what we are describing as accounting rate of return or average rate of return. And from the method itself, it is very clear. And I am taking a very simple example. Supposing there are, let's take only one project to begin with. Let's say you have a project before you, and that project is expected to give you an average rate of return. Now, this average rate of return, maybe the rate of returns of different years are given and you have to average it out. Or maybe it is given to you as to what is the average rate of return this method, this project is going to give you. So I am saying hypothetically, let us say the information given is that every year it is going to give you 20,000 rupees as your profit. So profit is your returns, and therefore you are saying 20,000 rupees, which is not a rate, right? But you have the information about the returns. And then it also gives you information about the investments. So when it gives information about the investment, since I did not talk of those things while I was discussing the first method, see, generally when you put up the investment, what happens? When you put up the investment, you find that sometimes, you know, there is something we call it as initial cost, or let's say installation cost. Also, when you begin a project, so this is something which would be relevant in terms of when you're talking of investment outlay in payback period, there also it would be relevant. We have only taken a simple assumption as to whatever is the cost, that cost will be incurred right at time zero. And we also talked of like as if there is no scrap value. Okay, so since the scrap value is not there, we have discussed payback period in that context. But supposing scrap value is there, we can again look at, you know, how payback period method is going to work at, and it will not be difficult, and you can look at the book and you'll find that you can work it out. So but now I am introducing these things while discussing this method. So when you are talking of this accounting rate of return method or average rate of return method, so I said as an example, supposing the average returns from the project which is before you for evaluation is 20,000 rupees. And let us say this project involves an initial cost for installation and whatever for setting up the project, let's say to the tune of 15,000 rupees. And it also has a cost of the asset. How much did I say? How much did I say for the initial installation cost? It just went out of my mind. What is it that I said? What is the value I said? Yes, anybody who is listening? Nobody is listening.
15,000.
15, yes, okay. So I was just forgetting as to what exactly is it. So I said 15,000. Now let's say the project cost or the asset cost is 1 lakh rupees. So it adds to 1,15,000 rupees. And then supposing there is a scrap value, and let's take this scrap value to the extent of 5,000 rupees. So I have taken this scrap value to the extent of 5,000 rupees. So this is just an example that I've constructed. You will not find exactly the same example in the book. I was just checking whether I am taking I have taken an example which is somewhat different. Now let me add one more thing here, and that one more thing, when you begin a project, you need some working capital for day-to-day operations. Now this working capital is something which will be employed as you begin the project and which will remain employed till the project is in operation. So this concept of this component of working capital, we call it as additional working capital for a company which is already running. That means you already have business operations and you have started with one more project. So you have this component of additional working capital. Now this additional working capital, as you would know about the working capital, it is not something which remains fixed. You know, it does fluctuate in terms of the requirement. So this fluctuation which happens, if we ignore this fluctuating component, so we call it as, you know, a permanent working capital. Now this may be a, I don't know if it is a new term to you. So we call it as a permanent working capital. So this permanent working capital is also a kind of investment which is involved in this project. Like when I was discussing payback period method, I only talked of investment as such, but what different components it may have, I did not talk of. So here you have a different different components in the sense of initial and installation cost, cost of the asset, scrap value, and working capital required for running of this project. So out of these different informations, you have to find out what is your average investment into it. And a very simple formula, and which I would like to write here, uh, would be, and this would be relevant, and maybe I can use a different slide here. Right, and I'm writing it here, and I'm using slightly bigger font for this. So we are saying our average investment would be equal to how much? Half of. So this half is important. Half of the three components that I mentioned are to be incorporated into this. Initial cost, then cost of assets minus scrap value. Okay, plus scrap value plus your working capital, right? That is how you will. So this is what is important in this particular method to understand, that these are the important components of calculating average investment. And let us say you know your average profit. I'll take 5 minutes more, right, just to finish this. And so you're calculating average rate of return or accounting rate of return, which is nothing but a ratio of these two: average profit divided by average investment. Okay. So now everything else is simple except understanding that this is how you will calculate average investment, and also understanding that why you need to deduct scrap value and then add it back. Because when you deduct, you're trying to find out the cost of the asset, including initial cost and minus scrap value, which will be depreciated over the years. So this is like the depreciation part of the asset, which will happen over the years. So because you are depreciating your asset, you will take half of this value, because over the years this value is declining. Now when you are taking half, the assumption, there is an assumption of depreciation method, which is like you're talking of straight line method. But if your method of depreciation is different, you will find there is a different way to calculate this, because what you are trying to do is you are trying to calculate average investment, which is of the depreciated or depreciable part of the asset, and then you are adding like scrap value, because that remains employed, that remains deployed, that remains in use till the end of the project. And likewise, you're talking of additional working capital, which also remains in use for throughout the period. So that's how you calculate, and you arrive at your accounting rate of return or average rate of return, which is not a difficult thing to do. The important time which you will spend in understanding is understanding about how to calculate average investment. And for simple examples, it will remain simple. As your information becomes complex, maybe there is some complexity which gets introduced into this. I think I stop here. You can take a minute or so for asking a question, and then, as I just described, this is how we will be discussing various techniques. And then from the next class onwards, we will go on to discussing time adjusted or discounted cash flows. Mind you, discounted and time adjusted is not the same thing, but time adjusted also means discounted cash flow. So this important understanding is relevant, that when we are adjusting time, we are doing the discounting, But that doesn't mean that discounting needs to be done only for time. Discounting may be done for inflation, may be done for risk, right? So if there is a risk in business, if there is inflation in the economy, those also would need some kind of adjustment. And here we are doing only adjustment for variations in time in the cash flows. Okay, I stop here. If you have questions, you are welcome. Otherwise, I'll stop sharing. Yes, tell me. And then if you have class, you may leave. So we will, in the next class, we will discuss maybe one or two examples, and then we move on to other methods. Yes, anybody? Any feedback? Those who watched videos on YouTube, this will be a repeat in every class. I don't know whether I need to repeat. If you miss the class, you do watch, you must watch the videos on YouTube. I have already sent you the link. You can use any link and you can go to the remaining videos on the channel. Yes, anybody has anything? Kirti, Ayush, Rishika, Ritika, Shalini, विनम्र. ये रोल नंबर तो आप अपने हटा ही दो, एटलीस्ट लगाए रहो. अब आपकी बाकी टीचर्स भी हैं, बट यू ऑल ऑफ यू शो योर फेसेस. हेलो, या ऑल ऑफ यू शो योर फेसेस टुगेदर. Just open your camera. Okay, yes, hello Ayush. Yes,
Hello, sir.
others. Yeah, hello. Yes, others. You have your next class immediately?
Yes, sir. It has started, sir.
Oh, okay. Ritika. Yeah, hello. Ritika is smiling but not saying anything. Yes, others. Yeah, hello Kirti. What about Rishika and yeah, hello. Hello Rishika. What about Shalini and Vinamra? And Vanshika? See, I've already stopped. I've already stopped recording, right? But if you interact while we are recording, you'll find that session would also become interesting. So when you watch it again on YouTube, you'll find it more interesting to watch. Okay, you may leave since your class has started. You may leave. We'll continue with this discussion in the next class. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ayush, Rishika. Yes, Ritika. Ritika, you have something to ask?